Welcome everyone to another Airbrush Asylum live stream. Great to have you here. In today's video, I am going to be airbrushing this Eye of Ra artwork. So it's going to be a little bit more detailed. So hopefully I'm going to get it done in this stream. If not, then it'll carry over to next week. But let's see how we go. We've got a good 2 hours that we can put into this. So we are going to get started, but before I do, the other thing is I am doing this on a timber panel. So you can see, if I hold that up to the camera, it's all been sketched out. So this is just a grey lead pencil, what I used, and it's a 2B, and then what I did was I went with an HB over the top. Let me show you exactly how I did that. Switch to this camera. And I'll grab the reference. So the panel's 300 by 300 mil or 30 by 30 centimeters. I printed it out to scale, okay? And you can see I've stuck it together because my printer's only an A4 printer. I don't have an A3 one. I used to, but no longer. So you can pretty much, print it on an A4 piece and then move it over and print it again on an A4 so that you've got the two different sides, and then I just stuck them together on the back. And you can see on the back here, I've just sketched out roughly the artwork using that 2B pencil, and then using an HB pencil, I draw over the top. So you can kind of see how you just scribble over the top, and that transfers it onto the surface. So the good thing about this too is that you could make more of these and then have your paper templates and all that sort of stuff available to you as well, and they'll be to scale. So keep that in mind. All right. So let's have a look, see if the comments are working. I think they are. It's all looking good. We had a bit of technical issues last week, and Meg wasn't in the comments. She's back today, so you can all welcome her back in the comments. She's going to be moderating today. So things should flow so much smoother, and it's amazing that the platform now is working since she's back. So maybe she has something to do with it. I don't know. Anyway, let's get into these comments. So here we have a few questions already answered. Okay, so we've got Brian Keller. Hello from Rome. G'day, how are you? Thanks for tuning in and watching. Appreciate it. Just trying to find some more. Brian Moore says, hello. G'day, how are you? Thanks for joining yet again. Jonathan Parsons from Pennsylvania. How are you? We've got Dan Ma. Hello. Hello to you. So a good group of people in here already. And we've got Chuck from Adelaide, South Australia. Fellow Aussie, welcome. Thanks for joining. All right. So if you want to screenshot this so that you can follow along, or if you want to follow along later on the replay, that's fine as well. So we're going to start off with the gold. So I'll give you a bit of time to get that sorted. And then I will, while I do that, I will just put some gold in the airbrush. Hope everyone's well and been busy painting. If you do want to ask a question, feel free to put a Q in front of the question if you wouldn't mind. It makes it a lot easier for me to identify those comments. We've got Jim, love your work. Thank you. Thanks for joining. We've got, Kyle from Canada. Hello, hello. Shane Parker, g'day, mate. Long time no see. Hope you're well. So good, great group of people. We've got a question already in here as well. So I've seen people tone their panels. What's your opinion? When you say tone the panels, as in you mean base coat them, is that what you mean? If it is, that's fine. If not, then just chuck another comment in. So you can prime timber. So you can see with this one, I've kept it raw. So this is just from Kmart or Target. I don't know, it's about $5, super cheap. But it is pretty good quality. You can see the back of it's all reinforced. So it looks like a thick framed canvas almost, so really good. So you could easily just put a hanger on it once you've finished airbrushing. But for this artwork, I want some of that grain to show through. So that's why I didn't bother priming it or anything. If you do want to prime something, then you could get something cheaper. Well, that's cheap enough, but you could also get, say, MDF. A lot of people used to prime that, and then you can put your automotive paints on top of that. The other thing that I love to paint on is aluminium composite panel, or aluminum, if you guys are not from Australia, so that you know what I'm saying. With those, they're great. 3mm composite panel is what I used to use. And they've got the aluminium sheet on the top, then a polyurethane composite, and then the aluminium on the back. Usually they're either white both sides, or you can have a color on each. I used to get the black ones, so one side black, one side white. And you can just wet sand those with, say, an 800 wet and dry. Make sure you take the plastic sheet off. Don't laugh. I've actually painted half a mural, and I thought the paint was peeling. This is before I'd ever used these panels, the first time I ever used it in the early 2000s. And I masked everything up, and I'm working away, and then I thought, oh, paint's peeling off. And here I grabbed the corner of it, and the whole sheet came off. It was not the paint, it was the protective plastic. So make sure you take that plastic off. But they're really good to use. Nice, lightweight, and you can 2-pack clear them. And they're great for displays and bits and pieces. And it gives you more of a feel of working on an automotive surface. So I hope that answers your question. You're saying gesso. I've seen people use an orange or like an umber. Yeah, look, you can do whatever you like, really. Depends on what kind of artwork. Gesso as well, or gesso. You can do that and sand in between to get a smooth finish. So again, totally up to you. All right, so I hope I've answered that question. How'd the paint even stick to that? Good question. It was automotive paint. So back in the 2000s, when I first started airbrushing, the water-based paints weren't as good. So I used to use automotive urethanes all the time. Obviously wear the proper masks and everything, but yeah, so that would bite in, no problem at all. It would stick to everything. All right. Okay, and we've got Clayton as well. I love watching. I learned a lot from you. I've been airbrushing for 2 weeks. Well, welcome to airbrushing. Thank you for joining again. And Lee Cunningham, eyes up. Hello. All right, gold. So I've got my Eclipse here at the moment and some of the Kaleido gold. I'm going to test this one out. Now, this artwork is not going to go up for sale because my wife wants this one. So, and I've been instructed to use more gold. So we'll see how this goes. Usually with gold, I would put a black base down and I'd put the gold over the top. That'd be the same for silvers or any metallics for that matter. Obviously, because the gold section is sort of in here, there's a little bit around the eye as well at the top of the eye. It might opaque over my grey lid, which will be very annoying, but if it does, I've got a sort of a backup plan. But I want still this grain to show through. So I want to keep some of that. So I don't want to go blackening it. You could mask it up and do that, but look, let's just go with this the way it is and see how we go. Find out pretty soon. All right. So straight in the airbrush. This is called the flashy gold. Let's see if it comes out. There we go. And we'll see how this performs. Let's just squirt it on my hand. Right. Just to test it out, I'll spray a little bit. Actually, I'll spray a bit on here. So I've got a little piece of timber here. Spray that on. And you can see, oh, still not used to this camera there. You can see it's nice and shiny, nice and gold. So we are going to start with that. So getting to the reference again, you can see in this area here, so I'm going to lay the gold down through there. We're going to have obviously gold in here, And now with the eyebrow, you'll notice that on my design, it has been left out. Okay, so if I move that, you can see at the top there, that has been left out. The reason being, like I said, this is for my wife, and she requested, don't paint the eyebrow. So I'm not going to paint the eyebrow. Simple. Right, so let's go ahead with the gold. First things first, just dust that over the top. Now you are going to get more tip drying. This is obviously a metallic color. I've just used it straight out of the bottle. If I get a bit of overspray, I'm not too concerned either. All right, this artwork, I'm not worried if bits spray over the top, because you can see we have quite a bit of this sort of grunge technique around here. So any overspray that travels from here, excuse me, will disappear eventually anyway, or it'll just give it a bit more of a grunge look. So I'm not too fussed about it. All right, I like to try and teach you in a way that allows you, even if you are a beginner, to enjoy having a go, painting it. I don't want to restrict you too much as far as, you know, you have to do this, you have to do that. You know, every single piece of the artwork needs to be copied 100%. That's kind of not how I paint. So I keep it a lot more free. If you make a mistake, turn it into something. So I've had that happen to me as well. I remember a motorbike that I was working on. There was a dragon mural on the top of the tank. So it was a tank where the you could obviously airbrush on the top. There was no problem. There was no sort of strap there to protect it, like some of the Harley tanks have. Anyway, got the dragon artwork done. Was looking great. Happy with it. Customer had seen progress images. He was happy. And I was doing the final bit of drool on the teeth, and it spurted out on me. So I only originally wanted to do a little bit of drool coming off his teeth. And then, anyway, cut a long story short, I couldn't exactly sand it off. So what I did was those bits that were sort of a bit blobby, I turned them into a lot more saliva coming off his teeth and inside the mouth of the dragon. And when the customer came to pick it up, he specifically said to me, I love what you've done, especially the extra drool that you've put in there. He was actually happier with the fact that I did that. So it worked out that a mistake actually was a benefit in the end. Okay, so there's a bit of that gold coming in there. I'm going to spray a bit along here as well. And just around these tips here. So if you're currently working on a project, then definitely let us know in the comments. And again, if you have a question, put a Q in front of it. If you're on YouTube, you can super chat if you wish to highlight your question and make sure that I don't miss it. It's not essential, but you are welcome to do that if you wish. And I'll be jumping back and forth into the questions as I move through the artwork. All right, so we've got the gold on there. Almost call that done. Okay. Put that to the side. And let's start with some sepia. So what I want to achieve now with the sepia is I want to sort of basically build up a tone. So I'm going to use just some sepia brown. You can use any if you don't have Trident. Trident is my favorite sepia out of all of them. But obviously all the other brands have them as well. So I've just put a bit of reducer in my cup. And let's put that in. hook her up. And then with a bit of paper towel, I'm just going to put my finger over the front like that and back bubble it just to make sure that that's mixed up nicely. And we should be all good to go. Quick sip of some coffee. It's only 10 a.m. in the morning here, so let me just have a bit more coffee, kickstart my my systems. And we've got a few people in from Facebook as well. So thanks for joining. I'm just trying to find them. Yep, so that's good. Bill, are you sealing the wood panel first? No, not in this particular artwork. So I'm not doing anything with it. I haven't even sanded it. So it's just literally unwrap it, straight on, off you go. And I think Megs would have already written back to that. Sorry, I'm just trying to jump in here. Damn, messing up a dragon mural would be stress. Good job on fixing it. Yeah, it was. Look, like I said, mistakes turn into benefits sometimes. So don't stress too much about it. And that's what I recommend to everyone. If you are painting, just continue through your artwork. Don't give up. It can be stressful, yes, especially when you're at the final end of it, but there's always, a way to fix it. You might want to hide a mistake in a shadow, like I did, add extra highlights or drool in that case. There's so many ways that you can fix it. The biggest issue and the most stressful time is when it's a candy. That's when there's more issues. Sometimes you can't fix it. Stuart says, good morning, everyone from Facebook. Thank you for joining. All right. Oh, we've got Clayton's in Hawaii, 1:15 p.m. I'd love to go to Hawaii. That's one place I want to go to. I've never been. Holla from Arizona, Dire Wolf, welcome. I will get painting in a sec. I've just finished my last project, a bonnet cover for our motorhome called Ebenezer. Well chuffed with it. Well done. That's awesome, Universal Cat. Fantastic. Bobby, how are you? Hope you've got power. I heard last week that you didn't have power, so you couldn't start the course. So I hope you've got your power back and that you're able to start learning and enjoy the course. And congrats again on winning. Naja Caravan following along. Welcome. And hello from Iowa. Brew your own for life. Welcome. All right. Let's start with this sepia. Also, if anyone wants to learn how to airbrush, you can check out our online airbrushing course. And the bonus at the moment is that it is 25% off. So you get a discount at the moment. That ends end of March. Okay, let's start painting. So where to start? There's so many places we can start. Usually I start in the darkest areas. Okay, so if I look at this reference, for instance, when I say darkest area, obviously the pupil is very dark. So I'm going to test the color in there, make sure I'm happy. The other places I like to start, if you're starting with obviously your first tone, is just anywhere where there's a deep shadow. The reason being is that if you do make a mistake or you're not happy with the color, it's going to get hidden. So you're better off doing that, starting in these areas, rather than, working on an area, say up here, where if you put your line or your shadow in there, then that could be an issue. Okay. So let's just jump back over here. Turn that one off for the moment and start painting. Right. Let's test the color. Pretty happy with that. I'm just going to draw that in. And what I like to do is with an artwork like this, which is a bit more complicated, I start with this sepia color, and I'm going to use that as if it's the only tone that I'm using. All right. Some of this in there just to simulate the reflection from the lashes. A little bit of shadow. This also helps to identify all my lines that I've sketched in and how the artwork's looking. So not as sharp around here. Again, working from a distance first and then gradually moving in. So you kind of shape the artwork as you go. Less is more, guys and girls. Okay, so I've got a basic sort of look at the moment. I'm also going to just quickly pop some comments on there so you guys can see them on the screen as well. Okay. So now let's start to bring in a bit of detail through here. Lashes done with little tiny dagger strokes. Blending down from my shadow. And with this artwork, once it's done, I may even resin it. So resin sort of looks almost like a 2-pack clear, but you pour it on. So it's really handy if you don't have access to, say, a spray booth or something like that. But the other option is you can 2-pack clear as well. So just bit by bit, building it up. There's loads of texture in this, so kind of going to create a bit of that unevenness as well. I'll do some painting and then I'll jump back in the comments in a while. I'll do that throughout the video. Like I said, I might not get this done in one session today. So we have about 2 hours scheduled for these streams every week. So that's fine. We will continue it then next week. I'm curious to know if you guys are happy with that as well. If you want me to do some more detailed sort of stuff that would need to be carried over and not completed just in a stream, I'm happy to do that as well. So always looking ahead of my line. So I'm running a shadow. The reason being is if you look at where the airbrush is spraying, then sometimes you can get nervous, especially if you've just sort of started with your airbrushing. So by looking ahead, you naturally follow where your eye's going. You can see gradually shading, so just taking my time. And as you know, if you've watched my videos before, I do like to do texture, freehand with masking, whatever sort of the artwork needs is kind of what I would recommend. So if there's obviously a definite harsh edge, then mask it. If there's texture, put it in. Even if it disappears later on, it's amazing how those little subtleties make all the difference at the end of your artwork. Okay, we're getting a bit of shape in there now. Quite a bit more shading in this area underneath. So as I want to go darker, then I'm up closer. Again, just add in a bit more texture. Don't know if you can see it on the video, but that gold is really standing up. So if I did resin clear it, it'll make a huge difference. But it almost looks 3D. And that was just the Flashy Gold by GAAHLERI's KALEIDO paints. I've been enjoying using them. And if you want to get 10% off any GAAHLERI products, then there is a link in my description. We also do have the AVENTUS available at the moment. So you can jump on our website if you wish to grab one of those. We have Black Aurora, Titan Mist, and then Barbados Rex Midnight Tide version. Again, just building up a bit of texture. And if you're not confident, so if you are going to follow along with this at a later stage, or you're doing it now, and you're not confident using this sepia because it is fairly dark, then either add a bit more transparent base into it, just to make it not as strong. So that's what I'll do with my grays as well. So if I do a black and gray artwork, I don't use white at all. Like I will for the highlights, but I don't use different shades of gray, let's say that instead, to build the artwork. What I do is I'll use transparent black and I just mix up different strengths of it. That way you have a bit more control. You can shape the artwork. And with this, again, squint your eyes. And just paint what you see. So don't try and make things up. If they're not there, don't paint them. Okay. Getting some progress. Let's Let's do comments for a quick second. Need a quick drink anyway. So you can see now I've worked in, you know, a lot of this area here. Let me just zoom in. You can see, zoom in a bit more. You can see how much texture is in there. So I'll try and get a majority of that in there. You can also get a lot of these textures in with an eraser pencil. I might even do that at a later date. I'm not going to do all these veins. So up to you if you want to do that. I'll keep it a bit cleaner than that. But even through here, you can see loads of texture. Okay. So let's have a look, see what's happening in the comments. See if there's any questions that need answered, needs answering. Just skip through a bit. Okay. Okay, here we have a few people from Facebook. Stuart Boyer, he's from Brisbane. Oh, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Okay, we have, where are we? Air pressure, I am at about 40 PSI. Yeah, but I'm using obviously the Mac valves on this particular brush, you know, so it's turned down quite a bit. Clayton says it's coming along beautiful already. Oh, thank you. And yes, Meg corrected me there. It is usually 18 to 20 PSI for detailed work. So general airbrushing, 30 to 40 PSI. But again, because I'm using obviously the main compressor here. So I just keep it running at about 40 and then wind this in so it simulates 18 to 20 PSI. All right. So for the airbrushes like what I used before, the Eclipse to spray on the gold, that was pumping through at closer to that 40 PSI. Now I'm reduced down with the Mac valve. All right. So every airbrush sort of performs a little bit different. Question. I struggle using shields. I usually only freehand. Any drills to practice with shields? Good question. Yes, you can. So what I would recommend, I mean, shields are a funny thing, and I'm assuming you mean just freehand shields, not using them as the complete artwork. Because all I do with the artwork ones is I'll use it for a basic outline, spray that lightly, and then render freehand. If you want like you know, the texture templates or the freehand shields to just, you know, spray along the edge of your chin if you're doing a portrait, or around your nose, whatever that may be, you can use that. Just curl the edges, like you can lift up the edge of the template, which will stop the overspray from hitting the surface. So say for argument's sake, you're doing, say, an eye, and I'll just go back to this for a sec. So say you want to, you know, hit that area here with a freehand shield, but you want the sharpness from the freehand shield to stop here, then I would curve, like lift the edge of that stencil, and then this part won't get any overspray on it, but this will get your, you know, your defined edge. All right, so you can use that. That's one thing you can do. Also lift them off the surface if you're not sure. So you can come back a bit further, start slow, and then move them in, similar to what I do when I'm, you know, moving in closely and trying to shape. So that works as well. Just be wary that if you want it completely clean of overspray and just a sharp edge, then the stencil needs to lay flat. The other thing you can do is use spray adhesive on the back of them, and then that'll help to fix them in place. Another thing to practice would be to cut your own paper templates. So that works well as well. All right. So hopefully that answers your question. Going through, having a quick look. Okay, Bill, when doing line work, do you prefer to hold the brush at 90 degrees or at a bit of an angle? Depends. Okay, so if I'm cutting in, for argument's sake, again here, it's going to be hard to show you on the video. I will eventually have another camera as well. But so say for argument's sake, I'm working along here and I'm happy with the overspray to sort of travel either side if there is going to be any, or if it's a really sharp defined line. I mean, generally I don't say lines in an artwork because you don't really want lines. So let's just say defined shadow. Then yes, up nice and close, stay consistent with it. And like I said, look ahead of the line. If I want to spray in here and I want the overspray to go in that direction, well then yes, you can angle your airbrush because it's going to protect it, the overspray, from going in here. So it really depends on the artwork. So with something like this, I've got, obviously, like, I feel comfortable doing it like that because I'm not too worried about that I'm going to get too much overspray. But if you are like learning and you haven't got that control yet, then sometimes angling the airbrush in, not like that, obviously, but just a little bit, will then guide that overspray in here. Okay, and then this is obviously the safe area at the moment, and then you would do the opposite on this side. Okay, so that way you can kind of contain your airbrush overspray. Right. Just looking for more questions. This is why the queue really helps, guys. So thank you, because then I know if it's a question rather than just chatting amongst yourselves. Okay. Right. Let's keep going. Also, I've got this. I'll just pop this up the top. If anyone's interested in the online course and really wants to learn, it is currently 25% off. You can use that QR code up in the top left there to scan and then jump in to the course, enroll. I am also going to be giving away a course towards the end of this stream. So you need to be present. Doesn't matter what platform you're on, you can all enter as long as you can comment, which comments are fine this time. We had a bit of an issue last week with a platform that wasn't allowing users to comment. So I don't know what happened there. I did reach out to them, but it seems like everything has been fixed. But yes, we will be giving one away, and you just need to hang around in order to be in the running for that free course. Right, just a bit more rendering with this sepia. I'm going to start working in this area here where the gold is. So if anyone does want to paint in the eyebrow, it's fairly straightforward. I do have a 100% freehand eye as well that I did in black and grey. So if you wanted some tips on doing the eyebrow, you could definitely check that one out. If you just search eye 100% freehand Airbrush Asylum on YouTube, it'll come up. But it's basically just dagger strokes to create the eyebrow. Again, building slowly, not trying to smash it on. And I do appreciate all you guys watching live. I know that time is valuable, and I know myself and Meg, we really appreciate everyone for spending their valuable time here watching me paint and ramble on about airbrushing. So I do hope that you're getting enough value out of it. Just going to get rid of these. And yeah, you guys have had enough time now to get that QR code, so I'll just take that off for the moment. And we'll go back to painting. I'm going to need to zoom in. Just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to zoom in on this because, hang on, where are we? Let's go over here. Right. So I just want to get a clearer picture of this section here. Just to add in a bit more detail, you can see this is fairly dark, but we still got some of those highlights from the lashes. So I'll put them in very subtly with the sepia, but I'll have to come in later and highlight, and then we'll knock them back. So when I say knock them back, put a bit of a shadow over the top. But I'm just going to leave that for my reference at the moment. So you can see we've got this section here which will have the blue tinge to it. So this is the bit that takes the longest, is identifying all of your drawing and making sure that you're airbrushing in the correct parts. So you don't want to rush that. See, I've sort of, in here, I've come down with that line, that shadow line. So that technically should be in here. This should be more of the eyelashes coming down. So what I'll need to do now is fix that up. So this is also why you start with a lighter tone, and it'll all work out. I'll make it look fine by the end of it because it's all heavily shaded and in shadow. But these are the little things that you got to keep an eye out and are easily missed. But that's the good thing about a live stream. You can watch all the mistakes that I do make and see how I fix them. So now what I'm going to do is blend this down. And by the time I use the other colors, you won't even notice this. So it is going to eliminate a lot of what I've just done, but that's fine. I'm just leaving that in there. I can just see it. We've got darken that off. I'm going to put in that shadow line just so that I can see where I'm going. And then some of these in as well. Looks a bit funny at the moment, I know, but we'll get there. As it progresses through the motions, we will get there. I'm going to colour that in. So again, I'm going to lose all these, but I know that I have to put them in later. And like I said too, you don't have to follow this 100%. It's just a reference. I think that's what people freak out too much about when they're airbrushing. They feel like they have to create every little strand of hair accurately to that reference. I mean, if that's what you want to do and that's how you want to paint, by all means go for it. But personally, I just enjoy having the reference there, and then you can create your own work of art off that. It's a lot more freedom, makes it a lot more fun in my opinion. Put a bit of these in there too. Again, this is just sort of fine shadows in random positions, but working from the inside out. You know, it's spitting a little bit and spotting, it doesn't matter. It all adds to the texture. I learned that from Mike LaValle, the legend that created the real fire, or well, for him, true fire effect. And he used to deliberately spider out a lot of his paint to create texture, and it would have a bit of an oil painting feel to it, and I loved it. Sadly, he passed away. Absolute legend of the industry and super nice guy. I was fortunate enough to have him stay at our place and host him for his Australian tour, which we organised a while back, quite a few years back now, but yeah, really good guy, and very sad that he's gone. Okay, you can see now it is shaping up a lot nicer. We're getting a bit more depth and detail in there. So I'm going to continue on with adding a bit more texture. Texture also makes it a bit easier too if you are starting out, because one of the hardest things, and people don't realize this, is to paint, say, a cartoon character. And if you want to practice, it's something that I always recommended my students to do. And that would be to grab a t-shirt or even just t-shirt material. They're cheap enough. So grab a few of them. Draw up, say, I don't know, it could be any characters, Disney, Looney Tunes, or characters that you've drawn. But make sure they're like a cartoon character. So meaning lines, definite lines. And then what I would recommend you do is practice outlining them all, but first color them in with solid colors. So nice and bright solid colors, then shade them, and then do your outlines. And you will be amazed at how difficult that is. However, if you practice it, and this is something that I did when I started learning how to airbrush, the guy that taught me said exactly what I'm telling you now. And I used to draw up 10 to 20 of them at a time on a big sheet of t-shirt material. And I would just go through and color them all in, shade them all, add highlights, and then do outlines. And I didn't stop. Like if I made a mistake, I just kept going. And that really improved my double action technique. It was amazing how quick I was able to get the feel for it. And some of the artists that have the best control are t-shirt artists, and they're phenomenal at what they do. Like you take it for granted when you see them, write a name on a t-shirt, but that's all scriptive, and it's using that double action technique, and it's just insanely good. I mean, there's no way I could do that. I'd have to practice for quite some time, even though I have decent control of double action. But, these guys do it all the time. They're pumping out, hats and t-shirts, sometimes 50 to 100 in a day, some of the really talented artists. And if you look at it, yes, they use some templates and vinyl cut stickers and bits and pieces to get some of the logos. But when they do that scriptive lettering, it's very impressive and much harder to do than any mural. So hats off to them. Okay, so we're getting a bit of depth in that top section now. I'm just going to move this so that I can see the bottom. Zoom out a little bit. You can't see what I'm doing, sorry. So I'm just moving this down. I want to render in, let me just show you. Oh, one moment. What I want to do is begin rendering in here and this section here. All right, so I'm just zooming in on what I've got, just so that I've got a clear reference, because I'm using obviously a digital reference here. So I'm just going to leave it there so that I can keep going with it. And we currently have 52 people in the stream, 54 in the stream. So thanks again. If you wouldn't mind, give it a thumbs up, like it. Doesn't matter what platform you're on. I'd appreciate that. And also share it out if you wouldn't mind. And if you are on YouTube, Facebook, whatever it is, if you could subscribe or follow would be fantastic as well. All right. Let's get back to this. Okay. And a huge thanks to my wife, Meg, who's in the comments. Busy moderating. So she does a great job. We really appreciate it. I'm speaking for all of you guys. Right. So I'm going to start putting some of this detail in. Again, these are just patterns, more like a bit of a hieroglyphic pattern. So this artwork was created using Midjourney. So I know there's lots of people that don't like AI. I understand that. But for the purpose of doing these videos to create reference images, it works really well. And obviously then I just paint off that. So yes, you could sit there for hours drawing this up, but that's kind of what I use AI for. But there is a lot of tweaking that goes into it. It's not just like chuck in a couple of prompts and you've got the image. There were many variations of this before I was happy. Okay, I've just got to scroll down. And I'll jump back in the comments soon, guys. I'll just get a bit more done. As you can see, I've got that air on at all times. Just pulling back a little bit on the trigger finger. And remember, just pop a Q in front of your question, or if you're on YouTube, you can super chat if you wish. Not essential, but it will highlight your comment, and we obviously do appreciate it. So just continually rendering here. You can see I jump around quite a bit with the artwork as well. So you could mask this out as well if you wish, but for the purpose of this artwork, I thought I'll just do this freehand. There's enough texturing and stuff going on around it, so I don't need it to be 100% defined. Starting to get a bit of detail in there. Takes time, I know, but these are the little things that you got to do. And you can see I'm not really following it, I'm just making it up. I've got my drawing there, basic outline, but it's a bit more suggestive. If you have more time, then you can definitely add in specific things in these areas. So feel free to tweak it. You don't have to copy this exactly. And I don't want to coat too much over the gold either. All right, so you know, if ever you're doing a shaded line like that and you're not comfortable doing it sort of up and down, then if you're able to, you can spin your panel and then that might make it easier for you. So whatever works, don't feel like you have to paint it the way it sits on the easel. If it can be moved, move it so that you're more comfortable. Because doing a sharper shadow and moving left to right, I find is easier. And remember this, I'll come in with like a transparent black at the end to give this more contrast. So it's not just going to stay like this. This is just to, you know, get a bit of the detail in there, and so that I can see where the artwork's going and if we're on the right track. Right. We've got some detail in there now, which is good. Just sitting back and having a look at that and seeing if I'm happy with the shapes and shadows. I'm going to, so we've got, let me look at this now. That's kind of where I was working. So let's get into the comments a bit and see what's going on. Then we'll get back into painting. Just searching for some questions. Looking. bit of talk about online courses. We do have the Dragon online course coming out as well very soon. Hopefully in the next sort of couple of months, hopefully even earlier. Let's see how I go. I'm editing it at the moment, but if you are interested, hit up Meg on info@airbrushasylum.com.au, and we can put you on the list for, we've already got a list going of students that are interested in it. Okay, let's have a look. What's Brian saying? I haven't been painting much either. It gets frustrating sometimes and it's getting warm. Archery tournaments, nice. Yes, things can get warm, and that is a problem in your studio and can be a problem. So just bear that in mind. So it's great. I'm glad that you've brought that up. So if it is humid or very, very hot, then I would recommend over thinning your paint. And also remember to have the adequate moisture traps and filters and everything on your compressor. And, so that way you are set as far as it's concerned to trap all that moisture and condensation that will happen. Okay. All right, just got a super chat. I'll just jump onto that one. Let me just find it. And then I'll come back. Right. Asmodane, thanks again for the super chat. You've done this quite regularly and we really, really appreciate it. I think I've hit every live with a super chat for the last month. Got to keep tradition going. So not even a question, but thanks for the support. Honestly, we really appreciate it. And I know you also bought the course. Really appreciate that too. And remember, if you do have any questions for anyone that's in the course, you can also use that discussions tab. Okay, and we are obviously checking that very regularly, and you guys get priority over all the other comments that we get every single day. Meg does a fantastic job of staying on top of them. I can't stay on top of everything. It's just virtually impossible. That's why it's great doing these lives. But yeah, Asmodane, mate, honestly, thank you. You've really, we really do appreciate it. Okay, back. And if you have any questions, let me know. Just searching. A course on clear coating. That's interesting, Jonathan. Appreciate that. We could potentially do something like that, but we have an idea of maybe bringing in other artists and spray painters and bits and pieces to do some courses who are specialists in their field. So we've got a couple of meetings coming up. We can't say too much at this stage, but that is the plan. Megs and I have been discussing it because obviously I can't do everything either. We don't have a spray booth that I could use, and I'm not a qualified spray painter. So something like that I would leave up to the professionals. But that's a great suggestion. Really appreciate it. And we'll look into that. But what do you guys think of maybe, some artists or, specialists in their field? We've got a great mate that does pinstriping and, that sort of thing, and old school, designs. Would that be of interest to you if we brought out some courses featuring them? Let me know in the comments, and Megs will keep an eye out. AI is cool, all until you realize there's an extra thing. Yeah. Airbrush Barb, you are right. That's why you can't just chuck in a prompt and go with it. It does struggle with hands. I definitely agree with that. But yes, you either want to chuck it in Photoshop afterwards and clean it up, or sit there for a few hours and really tweak it. But I mean, this eye artwork, I probably spent a good hour, I reckon, with doing different prompts here and there to get it to where I liked it. Like I said, I use Midjourney for artwork references, but if I say had an image that I wanted to use as a reference image and the finger was a bit stuffed, well, then I would just clean it up in Photoshop, or I would just paint it. You're going to be painting it anyway, and just, use the other fingers as a reference. And if there's one that's stuffed, then airbrush that in. Or turn it into a zombie artwork, then you got no problem. You can have fingers missing and whatever. But yeah, AI is good for that, definitely. And I agree with this too. I love AI. It will never replace an artist or a human mind. Correct. Okay, just looking through. If there's any other questions. Yeah, keep the course ideas coming. Yes, we would love to know. They do take a bit of time because I've got to film them, obviously. They've got to be all laid out. There's a bit more into it. And I have a lot of other things on my plate. But Megs is good at keeping me accountable, and we've got a pretty tight calendar, which she's very good at managing. That is her skill. I'm just getting started with the hobby. I'm watching lots of your videos, and we'll start painting with an airbrush. Fantastic. Welcome. And look, if you are just getting started, the best way to get started, and I don't want to just sound like a sales pitch, but is our online course, and we have currently got 25% off that. So if you are interested, you can jump into that for sure. Okay, so we've got a few more comments coming through. And also we will be giving away a course later in the stream. So if you want to try and win it, one lucky person from this stream is going to win the course today. All right. Let's get moving. I'll leave that up for a bit longer. Back to our reference image. So if you've just joined and you want a screenshot, by all means do so. Let me just turn these off so you can do. And we will get back into the artwork. Okay. So you can see between the two, you can kind of get an idea of where we're at. I'm not doing the eyebrow as requested by Meg, my wife, because she wants to keep this painting. So if you want to put that in, like I said, basic sort of dagger strokes, but switching between the two now, we get a bit of an understanding of where I'm at. So I think I'm going to start to bring in some of this blue and some of this pinky red, bit of the color in here as well. So let's go ahead and do that, and then I'll go back to rendering. So switch out this airbrush for the moment, and we'll start with, I might start with the yellow actually. Actually make that a, yeah, we'll start with the yellow. A bit of yellow. For this, I'm just going to grab the Mobius. This is the 0.2. Spray a bit of that in there. Unthinned, unfazed. Let's see how it goes. If it stuffs up, it stuffs up. All right, so a bit of yellow in around, if I go back to our reference, in around here and there. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. And the illustration colors are transparent, so I can work directly over that sepia, as well as any of that gold. If I hit any of that, no problem at all. Just going to blend that up. Blend some of that out. Have some blue in there. Okay, so there's the yellow. Now we want to add in some blue. And that was just illustration yellow. Now the blue, going to use the 0.3 gallery Mobius, and I'll use the darker blue, but I'm still going to use cerulean blue. I just like it. It's nice and bright. Also by Illustration Colors by Createx. I just think it's a great base color, blue. And then you can shade over the top of it. So let's go ahead and do that now. Oh, so back to the reference just to show you. So obviously this area here, right through and up through here, and then in this section here as well. All right, so that'll be all the blue. So these don't take long to do. Might also put a little bit in here because there's a little bit of a blue tinge that I've noticed as well. Obviously the blue is going to tint that yellow as well. Tint it green. So that's the beauty of transparent tones as well. You will get the mixing on the surface. I'll bring detail back in around all these areas, so I'm not too worried about that either. Blend that out. And now I need to run blue along here, except I want to leave this fleshiness, okay? So that has a bit of overspray on it. I'm going to ignore that for the moment. Don't worry about that. That'll disappear later. Just going to dust this in to get some of that blue running along the edge of that skin fold around the eye. Again, I'm getting a bit of overspray. Don't stress. I'll be coming over the top of that later. You won't see it. So you've got to kind of plan out your artworks, and that's why the transparent tones are good as well, because you can easily shade over an area. You're not eliminating. You see, I'm dusting over this sepia and I'm not eliminating anything. I can actually even see the shimmer of gold underneath there. It looks really cool. So it cuts out a lot of time. If I was to use a flat tone blue, not only would I need it to be extremely bright, but I would have to then redo half of this, or I'd have to do the flat tone blue first, so that I wasn't going to eliminate the detail that I've created using my sepia. So that's where you need to look at your artwork reference and break down how you're going to attack the artwork. So every single artwork is kind of different. I mean, I use a sort of set way of doing most things, but sometimes I need to tweak it. So you just got to work that out for yourself. When you're doing a masking job, or like those automotive graphics, they can be extremely difficult because there's all the layers, and you need to prep for those layers and make sure that you've done, you know, a specific layer before you move on to the next. I'm also going to run a bit of blue overspray just in there, just to tint a little bit of that. I kind of like that look. And this is where you can add what you wish as you go along. The other thing I'm going to do is, if we look back at our reference image and I zoom in, make sure that I'm on that. You can see down here, there's a little bit of blue in here and a little bit of blue in there. I'm going to put them in as well. All right. I've just noticed a question that I can answer quickly because Megs might not know the answer to this one. So what do you recommend for an intercoat clear for water-based paint? I'll just switch back to this so you can see me speaking. I currently use solvent base and use SG100 and wanting to switch. Okay, I would have said SG100. That's the one I use. Absolutely love it. Have used it for years, and it is really good stuff because you can even, and Fraser told me this, he uses it and actually light sands in between. So if he has sort of graphics, you can kind of flatten them without doing a clear coat and then reflow coat. So that's an option too. Just be very, very careful with it and always do a sample panel before you attempt that. But SG100 works fantastic for all water-based paints. You know, all the water-based stuff now will, as far as what I know, the Trident definitely is, the Createx illustration colors are. They're automotive-grade pigments, so you can two-pack clear them, you can intercoat clear them with any solvents, no problem at all. Water-based solvents, I believe Createx have something. I I don't use a big range of Createx. I find that a lot of the wicked colors, well, this is when I used to use them. I don't use them anymore. I use Trident. And the traditional Createx, like your Auto Airs and the ones for T-shirts, I had a lot of trouble with tip drying. They might be a lot better now, but when I used to use them, it used to just frustrate the hell out of me. So now I use the illustration colors. I love them. They're really good, but predominantly I'm using Trident, okay? Because they flow like urethanes. And if anyone does want Trident paints, then definitely reach out to us at info@airbrushasylum.com.au. We can definitely hook you up with Trident paints and ship them overseas. So, you know, if you want to try them out, let us know. We can definitely do that. No problem at all. But yeah, I don't have an answer, unfortunately, Joe, for the Intercoat as far as a water-based. I think GAAHLERI might have some stuff. I don't know. But I'm sure Createx does too. Just look into whatever paint you're using. I'm sure they'll have something. Okay. So let's just put that extra bit of blue in. Let's have a quick sip of a drink while you look at what I've done so far. Okay. Just carefully toning over that. And again, I can see the shimmer coming through with that gold. That gold's really nice. That was the Flashy Gold by KALEIDO Paints, which is a GAAHLERI product. I'll also put some in here. And let's call it done with that, I reckon. Sorry, I'm just checking the reference. I'll just blend a bit more of that blue over here, get a bit of that overspray on there. I like the way it sort of tapers off. And now let's get some of that pink happening. You know what? I'm not even going to use pink. I'll use red. And the reason being is I've got a decent enough base here. So almost like a fleshy base because of the timber panel color. So I'm going to sort of shortcut this a little bit. I'm going to use red because if we look at our reference, it is fairly dark. The red will be bright. Okay, so it's going to look really bright to start with. But once I put shading and highlights and bits and pieces over it, it'll look closer to that. So often I use a really bright color, and then that will sit underneath and sort of be a bit more accurate later, rather than mixing up a new color, which would then be a pinky color. I'll just go with the red, and the other reason is I want to tint the yellow and make it look a bit more orange. And by using the red, I can spray that over my yellow, which is looking like this so far. And it will tint. It won't be as accurate, but that's okay. Again, once the detail and the shading and the highlights all go on top, it'll be fine. All right, so let's put some red, chuck some red in this gun here. This is the Takumi, not the Micron Takumi, just the Eclipse Takumi. Actually a really good option if you want a side feed brush. Okay. By Awada, if you don't know. Okay. Okay, so red, straight in. I might put a bit of reducer in. This is actually a bit thick. And I'm just using Trident reducer. It works fantastic in the illustration colors. It almost works better than the Createx thinner, in my opinion. And you can hear how full on that brush is. So the Eclipse will run at a higher PSI, and that's fine because we're only tinting. But otherwise, I would drop my PSI down a little bit. Okay. So now let's spray in the red in this section. I'll do a little bit in here, and then I'll spray a little bit over the top of that yellow as well. So I want to be further away, and I'm just lightly dusting it, and it's going to stay reasonably bright, which is what I want. I can coat it more and more, no problem. Take my time. Do that, and then I'll do the same in this corner, just a little bit, just so that I get a bit of that showing through. And then now here, from the distance as well, dusting over that. And the nice thing about doing this is any bit that touches the blue will turn violet. And you can see I'm just tinting that yellow now into an orange. And I'm going to leave these areas along the edge of this a little bit brighter. Right, and there you have it. We've tinted it down. I'll go a little bit more. So again, build it up. So don't go too heavy too quick. Okay, now we want to continue on, and I'm going to start bringing in some highlights. But before I do that, I've just noticed I want to tint along here a little bit, just a fraction. So just for that fleshy part, I'm kind of aiming on the top edge of here, because that'll obviously tint this blue into a bit of a violet, which is fine, and have that looking like that anyway. And again, white highlights are going to sit on top of that, so don't stress too much. It'll all come together. And I'm sitting back and squinting my eyes just to cut out that detail and show me the shapes and shadows. And I'm pretty happy with that. I might just do a bit of pink there and there. Okay. That's looking a bit better. So we're sort of a bit closer now to this. Again, I'm not trying to go 100% accurately to that, like as far as, you know, it doesn't have to be identical, but I'm happy so far. It's looking, it's moving along in the right direction. So now what I want to do is, I've noticed, before I move on to the white, I have noticed that there's a few sections in here that need a little bit more detailing. Along through here, we need a bit more texture. Okay, so you could get a texture template, but I'm going to just do it freehand. You can see I've done a little bit of that and a little bit of this, but I need to add in a bit more. Okay, so back to our sepia. And if you wouldn't mind, if you are watching, we've got nearly 60 people on live. Appreciate you all. If you are watching, please share it out and give us a thumbs up, and subscribe or follow, whatever platform you're on, would be also very, very kind. Okay. So now in along here, we're going to continue on with that texture with the sepia. And when I come to this section here, it's a bit more dotty. So just stippling. There is templates as well that you can use to achieve this effect. A huge range of different texture templates, so just check some of those out if you're interested. Whack in a bit more detail in here. You can see bit by bit it's coming together. Bit of a sharper shadow through there. And then here, I'm going to render this out as well for that bit of skin. And you probably noticed as well, we've tested a few different time slots for these lives, but for us, it works best on a Thursday at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So always go onto YouTube. Usually I try and get them up a bit earlier, but lately I haven't. To have everything scheduled out a bit earlier so that you can set the reminder. But always check our YouTube channel or the social media. It'll let you know when we're going live, because I'll share the scheduled post, and then you can click on that reminder on YouTube if you are watching or prefer to watch there, and that will remind you. I think on Facebook it creates an event, and Rumble and Twitch, they're new to us, so I'm pretty sure they may, I do schedule them, but I don't know if it's how their systems work, but we do have some viewers over there, so hence why we multi-stream. I would stream onto Instagram as well. However, I think it would do a vertical stream, which is not what I want. And it would then crop it and wouldn't make it valuable really to anyone that's watching. So okay, so again, just slowly building up that detailing. So definitely got more to go, so not going to get this all done in one sitting, which is fine. About an hour and a half in. And if you are just joining us, welcome. The stream will be obviously available on replay as well, so don't stress. You can always go back and watch it and follow along. If you do give this a go, please share it on social media and then tag us, and then we can reshare it for you as well. So we'd love to see what you've done in your own attempt. Don't be embarrassed by it. But probably one of the better platforms to do that on is our Instagram page. So you can definitely tag us in that. If you make us a collaborator, that's fine. We'll have a look at it, because not everything we obviously post. But if it's an artwork that you've had a go at, by all means, we will. And then it will appear also on our profile, which is cool. But yeah, love seeing what you guys are doing with all this information and how you're going, recreating some of these artworks. So I'm just squinting my eye. I've spoken about this in numerous live streams, just to get an understanding of how I'm going with the shapes and shadows, and then darkening in areas that I think need it. Dusting around just to fill in the panel a little bit. some sharper shadows as well. Okay, we're getting there, we're getting there. Shade in here a little bit. I'll jump in the comments in a minute, answer some of your questions. White highlights will really make this pop. So I'm looking forward to doing that. We won't get in, I probably won't get to that this stream, but it'll be next week. Just do a bit of shading around here as well. Okay, all right, let's have a look at some of the comments. Before I do that, hang on, there's one thing. A bit more detail in here. Painting some of those negative areas as well. Bringing some of that shading down. And I'll do the same here. Just a bit of unevenness in that eyeball. Cleaning this up a little bit. I'm just looking at the shape, making sure I'm happy with that. Okay. All right, we'll jump back in the comments. Alrighty, let's have a look. Okay, so someone's just saying the UVLS 4050 is awesome for an intercoat, but SG100 is the bomb. Yeah, I do love the SG100 by House of Color. Okay, just hello, Jose. Hello, thanks for joining from Costa Rica. Just looking for comments. You guys are just chatting, which is good. Howdy from NC, USA, man. I wish I could hang out. I will check this out later tonight. You all have a great night and be safe. Yes, thank you. Okay, just looking. All right, lots of comments. I don't think there's many. Oh, question, here we go. Brian asks, how do I use a color wheel correctly to mix custom colors? Good question. So pick the color that you like, and then usually the opposing color, which which you would use like for shading, and that would be on the opposite side. But to be honest with you, I'm not really a color scientist, as I put it. I just sort of mix and match and do whatever I've got to do. If you want to learn more about color theory, then yeah, you could check out Drew Blair's color theory. He's very good at color theory. He's got that down pat, and especially using the illustration colors. Okay, but a color wheel is a good way to start. Okay, someone's saying, I have a 4-ounce bottle of Trident Black and only use it for customers' projects. I save that stuff like it's gold. It's very expensive to get here in Canada, unfortunately. Well, reach out to us. We can hook you up and give you a quote on shipping. So all you got to do is send us an email to Meg at info@airbrushasylum.com.au, and we can definitely sort you out. No problem at all. Hello from LA. G'day. How are you? Just looking. Yep, course giveaway is going to be coming up, guys. So that'll be coming up soon. And for all of you that are interested, we have an online course, as you're most likely aware, and it is currently 25% off. So you can check that out. If you don't win today, you can at least get 25% off. Bonus. If you have problems trying to activate the 25% off coupon, and I may as well just show you now quickly while I've got a second. Let me just go to here and here. Okay, so this is, let me just shut these off. Hang on a sec. Right. Off. Okay, so this is the course platform. Okay. Oh, sorry. I'll get rid of these as well. Right. Clearer. Okay, so you got all your details. Obviously, it's $199, but you get 25% off. There's a video here that'll take you to the YouTube video to learn more about it. There's some, reviews, and then why the course. So currently it's got 39 videos, 4 hours and 40 minutes of tutorials, as well as 8 text lessons. There will be updates coming, and the price will go up halfway through the year because we're going to start adding updates. So if you lock in the price now, you're not going to pay extra, and you're still going to have access for life. Then obviously all this is just some info on the curriculum. I've just put out a video. It was a snippet from one of our recent live streams, and that explains all of this in detail. So check that out. That's our latest video that's just been published. A little bit about me and some frequently asked questions as well. All right, so let's say for argument's sake you want to secure the free preview. Then you go into buy, okay? And in the buy page, you'll see here, that's the price. Have a coupon, question mark. Yes, I do. And then what you do is you type it in. It's not case sensitive, Asylum 25, hit apply, and you can see there it will drop down the price. You need to make sure that you do this before you go through the payment process, okay? So don't just, pay for it and then expect there's an area to put in for the discount. If it's not showing this price, right, then you haven't put the discount in correctly. All right, so you need to just take your time, have a look for that coupon area. That was pretty straightforward on desktop. On mobile, it is a little bit more complicated. It's usually at the top of the page. All right. And then while I'm showing you website stuff, let's go to this one. This is our website, obviously, so airbrushasylum.com.au. Shows you some of the new products that we've got. We've got the AVENTUS in stock if you're interested. Stencils are still on sale, so you can grab a great discount. We've kept that going because we are running out a lot of those stencils and then bringing out more of our own. So you can definitely check that out and grab yourself a bargain with what stock is left. There isn't that much left. Again, if you're interested in anything as far as equipment, then by all means, reach out to us. Like I said, let me just get it up again. Where's my cursor gone? Reach out to us again on info@airbrushisylum.com.au, and Meg will help you out, and we can give you a quote on shipping, no problem at all. All right, so just put it back on there. Okay, let me have a quick look. There's a few more questions coming through. Okay, I found a couple here. Okay, I'm just quickly scrolling. Question. There's more questions. Lots of comments, so it's good that everyone's involved today. It's really good. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, question from Brian. Is Trident paint your paint brand? No, I don't own Trident. I've had a good relationship with them for many, many years, and I've used their products and enjoyed using it. So, yeah, but I don't own Trident, no. X-Acto knife for details and scratch. Yes, you can do that. I may use a blade or an eraser pencil in this design, potentially. Not sure yet. I'll see how it looks. We'll probably have to get to the rest of it next week because we're getting sort of closer and closer to the 2-hour mark. But I want to also answer questions because that's the point of live, to help you guys out as we go. I very much like this live format. Also, maybe a Q&A stream. Okay. Yeah, potentially we could do something like that. Yep. That's why I kind of try and include it with painting. But if you guys just want Q&A, that's fine. And yes, I did want to do Q&A because it is easier to do. No, this is fun. This is good. Okay. Okay, where are we going? Just looking for more questions. Okay. What preparation did you do to the wood panel to eliminate the chance of paint bleed? Okay, so absolutely nothing. There you go. I did no prep. So this is just I'll just put the camera on it. This is just a panel from Kmart or Target. Okay. You can see it's got all the grain in there. Let's lift it up, get a close up. Right. So all the blemishes, all the grain is left in there. I have done nothing to this. Yes, you could sand it if you wish. I've decided not to. So just work straight on there. So that way you guys can see sort of how easy it is just to go ahead and paint. All right. So if you wanted to, you could prime them if you don't want the wood texture. But I think with wood, it's kind of cool. But yeah, totally up to you how you go about handling that. Someone's saying, Dawn saying, beautiful. I especially love the reflection in the eye. Thank you. We're nowhere near done yet, but I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you're enjoying it so far and you think it looks good already. That's good. You missed the beginning. That's okay. You can just go back. No problem. It'll stay on as a replay. Can you use a good sealer for prepping wood panels? Okay. Oh, you guys are just having a chat. That's fine. Sorry, I'm just looking for other comments. Here we go. Another question from Brian. Lots of questions today. Thanks, mate. What equipment and supplies do I need to learn all the topics covered in your course? Okay, there is a material list. So if you sign up to the free preview, okay, then you'll have access to the material list. That's part of the free preview, and that gives you a complete list of everything that you need. If you've already got an airbrush compressor and paints, you're pretty much ready to go. Everything else like reference images, even the cutting maps, they're all in the course, okay? So you don't need to buy extra stuff. You don't need extra stencils. Everything's listed, but 90% of it, what you need, apart from an airbrush, the paint, and the compressor, is already there in there. You can download it, print it out. Everything's to scale as well. You might need to buy a couple of canvases and exercise book. I talk about a grid book, but nothing much. It's not a huge expense, okay? If you need more clarification, just reach out to us. Right, here we go. Is the GAAHLERI Airbrush Premium Series Mobius a good choice for beginners, or is it better to go straight for an Iwata? It depends price-wise. A lot of people go for GAAHLERI for the pricing. I've been using both Mobiuses for a while now. Where are they? So the 0.2, which is that one, and the 0.3, and I have enjoyed using them. I think they're great. So far, no problems, no issues. But it needs to be what you're after and what you're looking for and price point. So if you are going to go Iwata, then Eclipse is also a great option. The other really good option is the 289 GSI Krios, PS289. It's good because it's got a Mac valve, also really good. But also, if you can, like, I know it's hard because a lot of people just order online, but pick them up and hold them in your hand, and then you'll sort of know, like, because everything's different. Like, I personally love these triggers, the rounded trigger. I don't like how Iwata changed their microns and a lot of their other brushes to these triggers. Not really a big fan of them. Now, on the GAAHLERI brushes, they have a similar trigger, as you can see. So I still prefer the rounded trigger. And with the Iwata, I actually swap it out for the old school triggers. You can see on the Eclipse. So the Eclipse has that rounded trigger. I much prefer that. The new Eclipse, or not new, it's not that new anymore, but the Takumi Eclipse has that square one again. I'm not a fan of it. I know a lot of people love it. That's fine. Whatever works for you. But that's why I'm saying, if you can, hold some in your hand, because it'll give you an idea of how heavy they are. You know, are they comfortable? Because it depends if you've got smaller fingers and sort of stubby hands like I have, or if you've got larger hands. That all makes a difference. So you've got to look into it as well from that perspective, not just, you know, is it good and how much is it? Okay. As of the Aussie, hello. Can you use the scratch techniques with Trident paints? You can. They don't work as well as illustration colors, because the Trident paints act more like a sort of an automotive style paint where they cross-link a lot quicker. So you don't have as much workability. They did send me samples. They were going to go down that path a long time ago, but they worked. But I have used them. I've even used scratchability techniques in automotive paints. But the way I did it was I'd use a little bit of reducer and then sort of just dab and remove bits of the paint that way. So that works as well. But they don't, yes. So if you're 100% interested in doing the scratch method, then the illustration colors work best for that. And you can also use that on automotive. So you could use the illustration on automotive and then use that. You wouldn't want to scratch, but you can use like an eraser pencil and do that as well. Okay, another question. What are your recommendations for cleaning, storing your airbrushes when finished painting? Okay, so all mine are in, you can see there, glass cabinets. That's where I store mine. They all become, after the stream and when I'm finished, I pull them apart and give them a good clean. You can see they're nice and spotless. I've had these for years. And one of my microns is be 20-something years old, and honestly, I reckon it works better than the brand new ones. I also pull the needle out from the back and clean through the back. I know a lot of people don't think you need to or don't like to, but you can see from the last stream this is still clean. And a good way to test as well is if once you've cleaned your airbrush, you pull your needle out, wipe it on your skin, and if that's clear, right, there's no paint, then you know you've cleaned it well enough. But a lot of people are saying, oh, don't flush through the back. Well, I've done that ever since I've started airbrushing. I learned how to airbrush in '97. That's what I was taught. I've always done it, never had a problem. So I don't know how you can get away with not cleaning, because sometimes, especially when you're a beginner, you're painting incorrectly. Paint will start to push its way up through, even past the needle packing. And what you'll find is one day you'll go to move the needle because you think, oh, it's like this is catching and it's going single action. It's really bad, not performing well. and you'll go to pull this out, you'll almost damage your needle by pulling it out because it's so jammed up with paint, and it's almost like feels like it's glued in there, and then you're going to have a hell of a time trying to clean that out. So I always flush through the cup, flush through the back, and then I've never had an issue. That's my opinion. People are going to probably have a go at me again about that. Whatever, I'm not fussed. That's what I do. If you don't want to do that, you do what you want to do. That's fine. But I'm telling you from my experience, never had a problem, and my airbrushes are always clean. And I hardly change needles and nozzles. That's the other thing. I mean, with my microns, I mean, when I used to paint all the time as well, I'd maybe go through a nozzle every few years, I reckon. If I dropped it, fair enough. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, and I always airbrush with the cap off. So, okay, just going through. I'll find some more questions, and then we'll do the draw, I think, and leave it where we're at until next week, and we can finish off. Hopefully, finish the painting. Yeah. So translations for the course, I believe you can translate through Google Translate. We have had other people in the course using it. I'm hoping the platform, I've reached out to them. I'm hoping they introduce AI dubbing because YouTube now have that, and it's fantastic. So I wish they would get onto that, but that might take some time. They're not as big a company as YouTube, so they don't have the finances to implement that as quickly. But let's hope down the track. Just quickly going through. Yeah, wasn't a big fan of the square trigger. No, me either. Not. I don't know. Each their. I don't know why they changed it. To be honest, I love the round ones. My husband bought me a cheap airbrush, and so I want to airbrush, but need a decent starting brush. Not necessarily. You can still start with it. Just remember that depending on how cheap it is. I mean, I've used a $10 brush just to test, and I can still pull out a fine line and shade. It's more about the user. But if you have a quality airbrush, it's going to avoid having the inconsistencies that a cheaper one will have. So that's the main difference. So the cheaper ones, they're just, virtually a throwaway thing. So use it a few times, chuck it in the bin. But when you're ready, look at the brands like GAAHLERI, look at GSI Creos, Awada as well, Pache, Badger, Harder and Steenbeck, all of them. Like, just look at the entry level from all of the reputable brands and get yourself what you feel is best for what you want to do, and then you'll have that get like for a long, long time. All right, but yeah, you don't need to straight away do it. So see if you like it first. I don't agree with people saying, yeah, you got to buy an expensive $200 to $300 airbrush, and you might not like airbrushing. So buy something cheap first, as long as you understand and you don't get disheartened, and play around with it, and then off you go. Then you can start investing in it. Okay, here we go. Dingo Dunsky. G'day, Carsten. Hello. Question, is Prepsol too harsh a solvent to clean out your airbrush? I wouldn't necessarily use Prepsol. If you're using automotive-based paints, you can use like your gun wash, which is actually harsher than Prepsol. Or when I used to do a lot of automotive painting, I'd use the reducer instead. I know it's more expensive, but I'd use that to clean out my high-end airbrushes. All of the quality brushes now have Teflon seals. The cheaper ones run the rubber seals. So then if you use anything solvent-based, those rubber seals will swell, and then you'll find it's all sticky and doesn't work properly. And that's what's happened, and they're garbage. So always make sure, that's probably the key thing if you are going to buy an airbrush. Make sure it's got Teflon seals, but most reputable brands do. So yeah, look, if you're using water-based paints, there's no need to use any thinner-based or harsher chemicals to clean it out. If I have a real bad blockage, I mean, I use water. That's it. I don't even use airbrush cleaner. I just use water. And I probably should tell you I use airbrush cleaner because I could sell more of it, but whatever. I don't use it. Very, very rarely. The only time I use airbrush cleaner is if it's clogged up badly, which very rarely happens because I'm cleaning them regularly. And then I'll, clean out some of those stuck bits of paint. It helps for that purpose. But other than that, water works fine. All right. Yes, I agree with this, Joe. Thank you for all that you do, Meg. She does a massive job. It's a lot to keep on top of all these comments. So yes. How do we sign up for the giveaway? I'm going to be doing that in a few minutes. So just hang in the comments and I'll explain to you how to enter for that. Okay, I'm just getting through these. I would like to see something like cartoon character with solid black outline. I can do pretty good rendering and shading within the image using template shields, but my yeah, outlines are hard. And yes, might do something like that in a later stream. All right, I think we are done. Sorry, someone's ringing. Okay, let's get this giveaway done. All right, I'm just going to get this all set up. Okay. So in order to enter the giveaway to win our course, I need you to type in the comments now, #Ra. So from the Eye of Ra, #Ra. It's not case sensitive, so just start putting that in now. I'll give you some time to do so, and you will automatically be entered. You can see now the entries are starting to come in. So #Ra. We've got 53 people in here at the moment. So keep that going. #Ra. It's got a question here. Heard windscreen wiper fluid is good for mixing paint. Never mixed it. Never used it for mixing paint. I use it for cleaning up my stencils and stuff, especially the one with the ammonia. But yeah, I don't tend to mix it with paint. If you are going to use that, test it. But I mean, reducer from or thinner from the company would be the best bet. We have a question here. What PSI do you typically run? Okay, so 30 to 40 PSI for general airbrushing. So if I'm doing sort of larger stuff or general stuff, and then 18 to 20 PSI for detailed airbrushing. With this stream here, I'm running at about that 40 PSI mark. And then I've got airbrushes with the, let's let you guys keep typing in #Ra if you want to enter. So just #Ra, and that will, I'll come back to this page in a minute. You can see that Mac valve on there. So it's a micro air control valve. And basically what that does is you can run this at 40 PSI, whatever you want. And then this will shut off the flow of air. So once I wind that in, you can hear how it comes down, right? So that basically will allow you to go down to that sort of more 18 to 20 PSI, over thin your paint, get the fine detail, all right? Back to this page, we've got 23 entries so far, 66 of you in the stream. So up to you if you want to enter. It's free to enter. So #Ra. I'll give you guys another 20 seconds to do so, and then we will draw it and see who wins. Let me just shut this one off. And again, this is to win our online airbrushing course. So at airbrushisylum.thinkific.com, and we currently have 25% off the course. So if you don't win the giveaway, don't stress. You can always jump on and claim it. All right. Let's hide that, and let's do this draw. I've given you a bit of extra time. So 23 of you. Anyone else? Last chance. 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Let's draw it. Drum roll. And the winner is Ellie Archibaldwin. Congratulations. Or Eli. Sorry, probably pronounced it wrong. So Eli, congratulations. I've screenshotted this. Reach out to us at info. I'll just put this up. Reach out to us at info@airbrushisylum.com.au. Either maybe, let us know, obviously, your username, all that sort of stuff. We validate them all, but yeah, reach out to us. And if you haven't already signed up to the platform, what I need you to do is just go to this page here, and let's actually back out of this for a sec. Hang on 2 seconds. I'll show you what you need to do, Eli, if you haven't. Might be a minute. Right. So come here and just go to free preview if you haven't already. Click on that and enter in all of your details, so that way you don't have to obviously pay for it. Sign up, and then let me know your username that you signed up with, as in meaning your email address that you used to sign up with, and I will then manually activate your course. It cannot take up to a day or so to do so, so just bear with me, but we will activate that one for you. And congratulations again to Eli. It's fantastic. I'm glad to have another person in the course. And let's just go back to this. So this is where we're going to leave it. Right, so you can see we've got all of that sepia detailing in there, the toning, bit of detail as well, and we've got a shimmer of gold in there as well. So hopefully I should be able to wrap that up in next week's stream, same time. So Thursday, 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I look forward to seeing you all there. And until then, enjoy, grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you all again next week. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.